All right, let's try this again. We had some technical difficulties with the audio. We're going to do some AMD price analysis. We're ready to break out. Make sure audio is working now. Perfect. Perfect. Let's go. All right. So basically, AMD's been one of the big laggers in the market, especially the chips sector. We have a new chip. Lisa Su, the CEO, was on CNBC the other day talking about this chip that is now competing with Nvidia. Right, is the MI355X, I believe, but that's kind of irrelevant. The point is, the Catalyst is a new chip. Right, Catalyst is a new chip, and the stock is, I mean, the price action is looking really, really good. One of the best some of the best price action that I've seen, or not just price action, but technical setup that I've seen for a while. We're gonna go through that. Let's look at the day. I'm sorry, intraday really quick. Right. Try this again. You can see we had a huge breakout today, Monday, June 16th. Huge breakout, and this is kind of the first time that we've seen price start to climb, and really we had the biggest daily candle since what? Since April 25th, or I'm sorry, April 9th. Since the bottom of the market. This is the next biggest candle, and we're getting that candle right above a breakout zone, right above, a lot of resistance. Right? We're starting to push. I mean, we do need to clear it, and there is some other resistance, but the point is, the price action looks good. We're going to go through the technicals you see on the bottom. We're going to look at the relative strength. It is a semiconductor chip stock, so the relative strength versus the overall chip sector in general. Now, the first thing I want to point out is this wedge pattern that has been forming for the last, I guess you could say, the last month. We've had a wedge pattern form over the last month. We broke out of it, I guess last week, right? Didn't hold. It did not hold. We pulled back, supported that level, and then now we're making a new high. So this is the confirmation for me that true this is a true breakout. All right. I'm going to leave the comments up there, make sure I don't miss any that pop in there. Okay, we should be working now. I think we're good. Let me double check. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start looking. We're going to go deep into the stock, into the price action now. Just had to make sure we didn't hit another technical difficulty on the and you guys let me know if that happens again. All right, here we go. So we had a wedge form. This is a bullish pattern. Obviously, we broke out, retested, moved higher. Great. That's one check. Number two, are we past resistance? We also broke past this resistance put in May, and if we kind of scale back, you can see this has been a resistance level for a while, right? It was support way back in August of 2024. And I mean, we're starting to really elevate here. So I'm liking this price action, right? What about the downtrend? Let's check the downtrend, the overall downtrend. We're pretty much at the resistance level of that downtrend. Okay. We'll do the weekly too, but if you look at the daily, we take the high of March of 2024. So this has been downtrending for 12 months, a 12-month downtrend, right? In an overall monthly uptrend, the stock, the company is still in an uptrend. We're still in a gigantic, explosive uptrend. So that's good. So the downtrend looks a lot like it did from December, the December 2021 high. We drew down for 1 year, just like a lot of stocks, and then we broke out, drew down for 1 year. Here's the next breakout. Last time that breakout lasted about what? It lasted about 500 days, almost 2 years. I would give it 16 months. Let's say a year and a half. You had a year and a half of upside. So if we were to just say, oh, okay, let's assume we have another year and a half of upside, we're looking at, September of 2026, somewhere around there. So I want to say this is a position trade we're looking at, and you can hold AMD forever, obviously, but most of the upside is going to come, I think, in the next 12 to 16 months. So back to that daily chart, we're pressing against that downtrend. Okay, we've broken multiple other downtrends. For example, we broke this downtrend, we got above it, started to push higher, right? If we look at the weekly chart, same thing. Same thing. So we're almost there. I mean, this is really, if you want to think about it, this is really a flag pattern, a descending flag. And it looks kind of funky. It's not the most perfect flag. You can say that this was, a falling wedge, broke out. So we're at that point of acceleration, right? We're at the point of acceleration. Maybe you call it 130, right? Above 130. I think above 125 in the short time frame is really good, above 125. So go back to the daily. We definitely have a signal above that 125 area that the bulls are in control at this point. Let me see. 125 is right here. So maybe we hold. We'll see. But we are pressing against the longer weekly trend, and we're definitely up. We're definitely in an uptrend when it comes to the monthly chart. So let's go ahead and now shift over to some of these indicators. First, let's start with the MACD. Okay, stochastics we're not going to get into, but let's take a look at the MACD on the monthly chart for AMD. Right, price action is definitely trending up. Like I said, you can see a clear uptrend from that low of October 2022. Right, here we go. MACD is bottoming out. At least the signal line is starting to bottom out here. This is an EMA also. It's more exponential moving. You want to see it cross. We had that cross back here, but you want to see it cross. Either way, you get a bottom. If we look at the cross back in May of 2023, you can see the stock bottomed out well before the cross. The cross is just the confirmation that we're not trending lower anymore, right? But I think the bottom's in. I'm seeing the bottoms already in. We even got the confirmation on the RSI on the monthly that we're starting to pick up. We're above the halfway mark. We're starting to get above that halfway mark for the RSI, right? So MACD looks good there. I think the weekly chart is our best indicator of that, right? So we look at the weekly again, looks beautiful. You're getting these down, you're getting the, the violation of the downtrend. You're about to get, we're about to get it soon. Okay, we're almost there. Now let's turn on these momentum indicators. RSI absolutely ripping higher. Okay, bottomed out at the very bottom, oversold, got into oversold territory, ripped higher. We're also above the midpoint. So that's the confirmation that there's definitely the bulls are definitely in control now, right? MACD looks even better. MACD slower than the RSI. We got that cross, the bullish cross, April 28th. So 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you could say you got the cross. Can we carry that momentum over? Yes, we are carrying that momentum over above the midpoint here. And we're still early too. It's still early. So I'm looking at 2026, maybe next summer, that we just trend higher the entire time. Okay, so the RSI looks really good on both sides. I mean, the stochastics is really, this one's faster. Stochastics is really starting to get, it's probably overbought in the short term, but with the whole market just breaking out, I think we're still early, right? Now, another part is you want the overall sector, which is the industry, the chips, to also make new highs, to start to break out. We're close. SMH is going to be probably the best. I would say SMH is probably the best ETF that represents the chip sector. And we've been trading sideways for a while, right? We're not at the breakout zone yet, but it looks like AMD has more relative strength. So we're going to look at AMD versus SMH and AMD versus Nvidia. Let's take a look at Nvidia really quick. Nvidia is obviously the poster child. It is the bellwether for chips. So AMD is almost there. I mean, I think we're going to break out soon. We have some stuff in the Senate, some macro stuff to get past. But usually, prices tell you, price always pays. Price is going to break out before the catalysts. And then if the catalysts are confirmed, we get the continuation. If not, then we trend back down or we start to consolidate, right? So let's go ahead and look AMD versus the chip sector overall. What are we getting, right? You could just put in AMD SMH. We've bottomed out. We bottomed out. Now, we're not clearly breaking out yet versus overall chips, but this is a huge laggard. It's a laggard. It means that the valuation, there's many ways to value it, but the valuation is much cheaper versus the rest of the chip sector. The price is much cheaper than the rest of the chip sector. If you look at Nvidia versus SMH, Nvidia is at all-time highs versus SMH. Okay, so Nvidia is still expensive. Now, if you're looking into the future, whatever, but we're talking about momentum trade technical analysis here. AMD is much cheaper. Now, AMD versus Nvidia, you're hoping this is the bottom, right? The last time Nvidia or AMD really rose versus Nvidia was way back in 2018. I remember this move. Are we going to get that? Probably not, but we could, because Nvidia is what, 3 trillion, and AMD is a large cap. So the last real burst was August of 2023. So about a year ago, 2 years ago, and it lasted versus Nvidia for 6 months. So even if we get a small burst versus Nvidia, AMD versus Nvidia, nice move for AMD. This thing can really fly. Okay. So back to AMD, right? Just a beautiful upside trend forming at the moment. Now, if we go to, let's take a look at the moving averages to see if we get any bullish crossovers. Okay. So again, we're on the weekly chart. We want to see the 50-day. The 50-day is going to be your skinniest line. So I have these all black. I just don't like doing too many colors. The skinny line is your lower moving average, right? The shorter time frame. And then the thicker one in the middle is going to be our 100, double the size. And then the 200, double that. So we want to see the 50 rise above. We're not there yet. Rise above both moving averages. The 50 is still, the slope is still lower. So that tells us we're not in the clear yet. Slope is still falling, but the slope on the longer time frames are rising. The 200 is still rising. It's kind of sideways consolidating, right? So we might have another month of consolidation, but I think we're very close to that breakout. When it happens quick. So that's why I'm like, hey, keep your eye on this, right? Where the 100 is rising slightly also. So I like it. I like it. I mean, the daily might look different. Let's look at the daily chart. It's probably a little quicker. The daily, you're getting close to the very beginning of the crossover where you get the 50, cross the 100, and then it crosses the 200. But then by then it's game over, right? So let's look at something similar to the last breakout. The last breakout we had, let's go back to 2022 because we've pretty much had a year downtrend, right? The 50 was below all these. The bottom happened way before the crossovers started to occur. So me personally, I like to scale in, whether it's debit calls, shares, or pure just call options. I like the debits. You can do calls, you can do a combination, whatever. That's not the focus of this. The focus of this is the opportunities here. Very strong price action coming, right? So you have the bottom, it had two a higher low, and then you get the crossover confirmation. Then you get another crossover confirmation. It's pretty much game over. Every pullback, you should be loading up if you're very long on AMD. If you believe in the narrative, this is not financial advice, right? You start trending higher. So we're in the early stages of that. We could get a pullback all the way back down to 105, but with the bills passing this summer and with the overall market, the way it's looking, I don't know. Look at QQQ. We're almost at a breakout point, all-time highs. If we break out, AMD's gonna break out. Okay, QQQ strong. The VIX is low. We had the war. I don't think the war is going to accelerate because it's not really a even war. It's sort of, we're not going to get into that. But point being, the chip sector is recovering, and it's a cyclical sector. It's cyclical, and I think now these chips are really starting to, create margins for software, creating margins for robotics, create better margins. They're faster, they're quicker. And, the AI chip trade is still at the beginning stages. We're still in the early stages. So we're early stage breakouts for AMD. I like it versus the other sectors. Like I said, a lot of the other ones are already near all-time highs. We're getting very close. Now let's take a look at the EMA. Where's the EMA taking us? We want to see the EMA cross. Now the EMA is going to be more exponential. It's faster. So is it crossing? It should be crossing already. It's making its way. What EMA am I looking at? I mean, it really doesn't matter. I'm looking at the 24. We can go to the 12. It's a little quicker. This is the 12-week. So that's giving us what? 1/4 of price action. Same thing. We've crossed above the 50. Boom. Golden cross. Another golden cross. We got one more chance to get a golden cross. I'd actually rather see the EMA cross these than cross the simple moving averages for confirmation, because you're in a little quicker, right? And the overall market is getting close to Some people believe we're going to roll over. I don't think so. I think we're in a bull market. I think we're going to explode, and the market is just absorbing a lot of bad news and trending higher. That's not the focus, though. We're talking about the price action, right? So we're holding this 12-week EMA. I like the weekly because this is the daily. My bad. Let's go to the weekly. Okay, the weekly we're still above the 12, and it hasn't even crossed it. So we're early stages, right? So that's the EMA. Now, last we're gonna go to the Bollinger Bands. I got you, Biggs. I'm see your comments. I'm gonna hit them right after I finish. I want to show you anchored VWAP really quick, right? We went through the momentum indicators; they look great. Anchored VWAP from the very high. That's my target before we consolidate. I think we can move to 142, right? That's where the volume comes in, the average volume, and the other side of that is going to be the very low. We're holding that pretty clearly, right? So once you get above 145, I want to say it's game over. We're going to all-time highs. But I still think we're in early stages of that breakout. So that's anchored VWAP from the high, the previous high, right? But that's a long-term high. We go to the shorter term high, we're above it, right? This high that we put in October of 2024 before the last, I want to call it cycle, the last cycle for the entire market, the last up cycle. That was the beginning of the last up cycle. AMD has been underperforming. It's a laggard. So I think people will chase it. It's still great. It's still a great company, still doing a lot of things. And it's above that first anchored VWAP, right? Okay, so now let's go. Let's take these off. Anchored VWAP looks good. 142 target when it comes to anchored VWAP. Now let's look at the Bollinger Bands. We'll start on the weekly because typically the weekly, once you get oversold, overextended to the downside, you want to see us get above the midpoint. Once you get above the midpoint, now you're saying, hey, momentum is back to the upside. See, we never got that here. We got it briefly 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, then it collapsed. Or 5, 6 weeks. We had 6 weeks. So you could have a month and a half. It looks good, and then it just collapses. But now we're above this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 weeks, we're above the midpoint, and we're pressing against the upper band, which tells us there's a lot of momentum. It's not bearish. It might be consolidation, but we have a lot of momentum. So a pullback and hold of that same breakout level around 110, 115, maybe 120 would be perfect. I think we're in that zone where you can really look out till mid 2026 and say, this thing's going to be much higher, maybe 250, right? Maybe we're looking at 250. We can do a Fibonacci. Okay. So that's the weekly. The daily is going to look more noisy. I like the weekly Bollinger Bands because once you get above the midpoint, you kind of know this is it. The daily might go back and forth, but even on the daily, we're still holding that. We're still supporting the midpoint, right? So a healthy pullback correction and hold of the upper side momentum. The way I like to think about it, the upper bands or the area in the upper side is upside momentum. And the longer it holds, the more bullish that I will become, right? And when you keep banging against the upside over and over, and you're in a downtrend, this big down, well, it's not a downtrend, and you're in a giant uptrend from the monthly, but you're in a downtrend in the midterm, the midweek, the mid cycle, then we might be turning up for that mid cycle. I think we're going to break out. We're getting close, right? 140 confirmation, and it looks good. All right. So that's most of the price action. I mean, I hope I covered everything. It really looks good. It's starting to move higher. Ever since we broke this immediate downtrend for AMD, we've basically just had it make higher highs and higher lows. So that's really good. And this reverse head and shoulders, we've had this reverse head and shoulders, and it's kind of sloppy. It's not, the best, but there's a lot of technical patterns that are very bullish here, are very bullish. You can call it a cup and handle, whatever you want to call it. But it's breaking out. And we had the largest upside candle. How's that volume? Look at the volume. Today's volume was huge. Biggest daily volume since, and how much volume? 100 million. I think AMD is breaking out. I think it's time to get long AMD, not financial advice. Go at your own risk, but I'm long till 2027. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit your comments now. Whoa, that's big on the screen. Okay, you looked at hype last week, spotted the bullish pendant, got a beautiful breakout back at all-time highs. It's been a great performer, but I wonder where I should exit. It's at 44 billion. Okay. This is crypto, right, Biggs? I wanted to stick this video to AMD, but we will I'll answer your questions for sure. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, we'll do that. I think we're done. Just AMD is going to break out um or continue at least, right? So we'll look at hype. I wanted to keep this to 30 minutes though. 30-minute video. Oops. So you said where should your target be? This is a crypto. Let's see. It is showing bearish divergence. What is the market cap on this? Hyper liquidity US dollar PIF. This is PIF. Why isn't it showing me? It's not giving me a market cap. Tell me what the market cap is of Hype USD. I think this is the right one. It looks really good. Bearish divergence, but crypto's much different. So I wouldn't even say it's hard to say this is very bearish divergence because Bitcoin's just breaking out. So this thing might have a long, it might have a nasty God candle pretty soon. If this is the one you're speaking of, it gets around Sol FDV about 2x from here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I can't see what it is. I can't tell. Maybe there's a different measurement. I might be on the wrong one. Let's do Binance. Yeah, there we go. 14 billion market cap. Okay, this is a pretty large size. Is this the same one? I don't know which one it is on TradingView. Hype USD, is it under Pith? Binance, Bybit? Maybe Bybit? I don't know. This one looks better. I can't see the market cap. I don't know what FDV is. Something value. But I think the bull market just started for crypto. I'm very bullish on crypto. So I wouldn't exit too early. I'd try to hold a little longer. That's assuming we stay risk, get somewhat of an alt season within the next 6 months. I think alt season's right around the corner. I wouldn't try to sell in. I would try to stay as patient as possible. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. I'm trying to get through these. Let me see. Okay, so you're pretty experienced in TA and macro. Should I just go straight to the advanced? Yeah, I think you should, Biggs. You should probably just go to advanced. Yeah, don't wait. A lot of the courses that I have are beginners, and I would say for you, just go to the advanced macro, and I'll be adding to that. Also, that's going to be a lifelong course, so I'll keep adding to the advanced macro. But I really wanted to get people started who had no clue. The streams help more advanced people, but some of my streams are too complex, so I'd have to make videos that are a little, for beginners. I know I'm tackling a lot, but definitely go to the advanced. Let's see, just throwing all my comments out here. No, you're good. 15 billion market cap. I think I found it fully diluted. Yeah, that's the right one. Okay, cool. Yeah, it looks good. It looks like it's gonna break out again. I mean, technically, it looks like this is kind of a bearish pattern. Um, you do have a bearish divergence for the RSI, right? That's on the daily at least, but it looks very bullish. Other than that, I mean, the RSI when you look at RSI for super, you know, illiquid assets, it really doesn't give you the full picture. You can still break out. Crypto is one of the only asset classes where the RSI is bearish divergence and it keeps going higher. So I would just watch out for that. I would say as long as we hold 40, it's solid. So you can either say, you know what, I'm out early. Maybe you want to rotate, or just say, you know what, let me just, close my eyes and hold it. I would just, me personally, if you're looking for the most squeeze, just be patient. The alt season is barely getting started. We're about to pass the Stablecoin Act, the Genius Act, and A lot of these are really going to move. They're really going to move. So I'm not a fan of pith, but I don't know enough about it. So I'm not going to have any comments on the fundamentals. What are we at? 25 minutes. So for the most part, yeah, I like this. I really wanted to keep this stream not too long though, 35 minutes. And for now, I'm trying something new. I'm trying something new. The Friday streams will go over more stuff, but I'm going to try something new. If you have people who want to learn beginner, I'm going to start putting the beginner courses on YouTube. Okay. They were only $1 anyway. So, all right. Yeah. Um, yeah. The macro, I mean, I would just stay patient. Maybe shave 25%, 30%. Maybe 30% and let it run, right? 30% and let it manage your risk. 30%, let the rest 70% run. I don't know, maybe 50%. I don't really know your personal situation, so I wouldn't know exactly. But if something's up a lot, take some chips off the table and just, risk free. You sleep better at night. If it moves down, you're still good. If it moves up, great, right? So maybe take some chips off the table. Either way, this video, I want to keep it to AMD. VIX is coming back down. The chip sector is moving up. The oil spike, this was key. Oil not getting above 80 so far, so good. I think most of the negativity is going to roll over, but we're at the beginning of a very strong, technically driven bull market. So I would stay as bullish as possible. And again, everybody's situation is differently. This is not, advice for any single person. It's just a general rule or just a general, evaluation or analysis that, hey, I'm looking at a lot of these trends and AMD looks very good. AMD looks very good, especially versus the other chips. Let me look at the other chips really quick so you guys can see what I'm speaking of. Okay, this is the overall SMH. At resistance, probably breaks out soon. AMD looks the same. Broadcom, high, it's at all-time highs. Great. All-time highs, still has a lot of potential, but market cap is 1 trillion. Goodness sake. AMD is a tenth of that, right? Qualcomm is 172. It's about the same size as AMD. Qualcomm looks really good too. Yeah, Qualcomm looks really good. I don't know enough about Qualcomm though. TSMC, all-time highs. That's not bad either. All-time highs are great. But in the context of this situation, in this context, I'm speaking of like what has a lot of juice to be squeezed. I think AMD has more juice to be squeezed. Very small. SMCI, who knows? That thing is wild. AMD is taking Intel's market share also. Let's look at ARM all-time highs. AMD just looks unique. The price action looks very unique, and it's been very disappointing. And I think it's time to catch up for AMD. Right? All right, I'm gonna close it out here after these questions. Oh yeah, I read that one. Does oil move up during wars because it's from oil producing countries? It's a supply squeeze or just speculation? Well, it's moving up because the old investors are basically, a lot of people were short. First of all, there's a lot of people short oil. There was like a record short on oil, so they got squeezed because the war usually signals the destruction of the supply. So demand right away, price moves up. So if you're destroying a lot of these oil tankers or facilities and Iran has a lot of oil, well, price is going to go up naturally. So they get squeezed, they cover artificial pump, right? But overall economic activity isn't strong enough to sustain that move in my view. And yeah, war usually takes more demand of oil, plus you're destroying it. But the thing is, the US is the biggest producer. So I don't think OPEC in general they're producing more oil. They're not going to cut. It's a weird dynamic. It's really hard to tell. Nobody knows. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm no expert on oil. I try to find the experts, and as far as I understand, it is a short, it's more of an emotional move, not backed by real demand for oil. have this reaction when Russia, Ukraine. See, Russia, Ukraine was a little more serious, I want to say, because that's a real war. It's really the US versus Russia that can last longer. This one is not going to last. Iran is not, in my view, is as strong as Russia. I don't think they can last as long. And also, yeah, there's a lot of drama in there. I'm not going to go deep into it, but I think this oil move stops at 80. I don't think we get above 80. If we do, I'll be surprised, and then I'll be like, oh shoot, we might be delayed. If it doesn't, we're the bull market's going to continue. Stop caring. Why is Israel and Iran any different, even if the war does continue for a long time? Yeah, the market's going to look at the end of the day, the market looks through these wars. If you go back in history, and this is not a history lesson, the market usually looks through these little short bursts of war. The market is typically just trying to price in the worst situation, and then once it's already priced in, the market's like, all right, can't get no worse than this. Boom, uptrend. So it's a battle of catalyst, right? Sort of like on a seesaw, and there's just way more positive catalyst right now, in my view. Just keep a look at interest rates. Anyways, I appreciate you guys. AMD is what I want to point out. If I see something else, I'll throw it out there. There is a couple other stocks I'm looking at. I'm going to wait for that confirmation. But so far, it's about AMD. Beautiful upside trend, a lot of momentum. I'm looking all the way till nothing shorter than 12 months for AMD for a nice position trade. All right. Thank you guys. You guys stay blessed, eat healthy, work out, do what you got to do. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.